Test time, y'all. 6:04. 5, 4, 3, 2, live and intro. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'll be the hostess with the mostest. The super diggity dopest. That's a new sound. I'm here making beats. Welcome to another episode of Missing Dad. I'll be your co-host, Coley Harris.
And I'm the other co-host, Amar Melton.
Slow your roll, young buck. Yeah. Well, this is our first podcast since COVID, right?
Yeah.
First live one.
Yeah.
You know, numbers is down, y'all. So, you know, we practicing all cleanliness and social distancing and all that. But we had to get back to this work. I'm gonna give you some work. We had to get back to this work, and fortunate, man, to have what I know is gonna be a dope interview with my main man, Nikerray Middlebrook. Everybody, we call you Nikerray, but your name is Nikerray. Nikerray Middlebrook, man. So thanks for coming, man. Thanks for coming out, man.
Appreciate you, man. No problem.
Yeah. We're gonna adjust that mic a little bit.
No
Yeah.
problem.
All
No
right.
problem.
Yeah.
You hear me?
He a little soft-spoken brother, man. Don't get it twisted. You know what I mean? So Nick Middlebrook, I knew Nick for what, 30 some odd years. I mean, we went to school together. Then we went to school together. Yeah, I mean, and you know, what I mean, I know this brother. He's, you know, what I mean, I'll let you tell his own story, man. But this is like the first time we've done one of these, Amar, with somebody who has just come home. I'm not gonna get into how long, but has come home and hasn't even been. How long you been home?
80 days.
80
something
days.
Yep.
80 days. So with that, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, man, and you know, what I mean, how things been going with your transition and all that.
The transition so far has been smooth. I say this one thing that I definitely had an excellent transition team with you, Wolfie, Daryl Chambers, KO, Michael Bartley, you know, family, a couple other guys that definitely made this transition smooth.
Yeah.
Because without y'all, it definitely probably would have been hard.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what's up.
Yeah.
So, I mean, tell us, you know, I mean, you're speaking a little bit about the transition. I mean, the transition from what? If you can give us a little history on, you know, what I mean, just on you and your life and, you know, what I mean, challenges that you have.
Well, what led to my incarceration was a shooting, right? I was charged with 3 counts of attempted murder, was convicted. I was given a 75-year sentence. I served 23 years off of that 75-year sentence. And that was from 1996 to 2020.
2020.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I just released in January.
Yeah, how it feel, man?
It feels good.
Yeah.
It feels good.
Yeah. By the way, Nick is he's one of our resident paralegal. You know what I mean? Legal mind. You know what I mean? Jailhouse lawyer. But you do got a paralegal.
I got an undergraduate paralegal certification.
Right.
Nice.
And, you know what I mean? He's helped. Not only he's helped. You know what I mean? I don't know, probably hundreds of brothers. You know what I mean? Giving them legal information, and but also like you helped yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So how did you know what I mean? How did you know what I mean? What happened? So you had 75 years. We're in Delaware, y'all.
Yeah.
So 75 years mean 74 years, 364 days, and a dark night. That's what 75 years mean down here. Trust.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was convicted at the first trial, and then I went to a second trial. I was convicted again. So combined, they gave me on the first trial 37, on the second trial 38 years. So, you know, faced with such I think I might have been 24 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, 25, somewhere around there, because I know it took like 4 years in pretrial for everything to spin out. So I may have been like 25, somewhere like that. I went in at like 22, so maybe like 25, maybe 26. So, you know, faced with such adversity, I definitely didn't know what to do.
Right.
Yeah, so I was angry, you know. I live by the street code, so I'm like, people told on me, so I want to get back.
Right.
But internally, the anger was just, it was unbearable.
Yeah.
So what I had to do was I learned to channel it into, you know, learning the law.
Right.
And so because I didn't have any money, you know, unfortunately, you know, the flip side of the game, the real side of the game is, yeah, it looks pretty all on the outside. Today, those people get you, you don't have any money. I expended the money, so I didn't have any money for appeals.
Right.
And family and friends, they didn't really have any money for the appeals. I'm like, what the hell? I just ended up with 75 years.
Yeah.
And how am I get myself out of this?
Right.
So I think one of the things that sparked me was going to the law library. Law library, you know, I couldn't figure it out. It was a legal case that's a precedent, that Brady versus Maryland. So that's on evidence that is called exculpatory evidence, but basically evidence that prove your innocence or that prove that you didn't do the crime.
Right.
So I'm reading it, and it's a word, it's just material. And the whole time, I have no idea what material means.
Right.
So I'm sitting in the jail cell, and I'm asking the people in the law library, like, I don't get this.
Right.
And then, like, you graduated from high school, you had some college underneath your belt, you're supposed to be smart. And it just wouldn't register.
Right.
Yeah, so I think from there, it sparked me to still be angered. I went in that room. And up Gander, you know, you come out back then you come out every other day because they might not show up for work. So I'm in the room and I'm reading.
I won't cut you off. Watch your elbow here, brother. It's making a little, little aquatic sounds over there.
And then it just clicked for me. That word clicked, the light came on.
Right.
And I think what made me angry too was my mom sends me a dictionary. So it's a legal dictionary called the Black's Laws Dictionary. So it had it was like the 5th edition, so it had cases and different things like that in it. So I'm like, this woman had a nerve to send me she's supposed to love me. She said, I'm not going in debt for you. I didn't put you into trouble. You didn't listen to me when I said you're gonna have to figure it out.
Right.
And I'm like, this woman sent me a dictionary, man. What's that?
Yeah.
But, you know, that was one of the greatest things that I ever did because I read that dictionary. And when the light came on, it all made sense to me.
Yeah.
Then I took that the paralegal course, right? So that helped me because it gives you a basic premise on the books in the law library, legal, how to do legal research, how to read the case law, different things, how to write it. And so from there, I just started teaching myself Delaware law. And so I think that changed the whole plight on my situation because, like I said, then I was able to give back. I started out, I gave back 38. Then after that was 2002. Then in 2012, like 3 more years was taken off my sentence.
Yeah.
And then in 2019, 6 more years was taken off my sentence.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So before we jump into your younger years, I'm curious about that. So the attorney that you had that you ended up with the 75 years with, was it like glaring holes in the case that you found once you learned the law? Like, how did you get that time back?
The first time I found it was I went to trial on the first trial and I was convicted, and so 2 years from that I went to trial on the second case again, and so my attorney was representing me, and I remember I just have read about what they call a speedy trial,
Right.
and I'm like, you know, it took too long to get me to trial.
Right.
I'm like, so you violated my rights and speedy trial rights. And so my attorney's like, yeah, I don't think so. I don't think that that'll get you anywhere. So, but I was just adamant about it. I just had this feeling down inside, like, nah, I think that you violated my rights.
Yes, it goes on the mic.
Yeah, I think that you violated my rights. And so, you know, during the course of the trial, we had my attorney. I was like, listen, if you don't say something about my speedy trial rights, then, you know, I'm gonna say something. So I got him to say something, and long story short, that's the issue that came back and reversed the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
But had I not said anything, you know, I'd probably still be sitting down there on Paddock Road.
So they took too long?
Yeah, they took too long to take me to trial.
Wow.
Yeah, they took too long to take me to trial, and that's what. But the first trial gave me the experience to handle that in the second trial.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us. So where you tell us a little bit about your upbringing. You know what I mean? And you know what I mean, relationships with family and your community and a little bit of all that.
Well, of course, you know, I grew up on the north side,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and so I lived with my grandmother. She lived in East Lawn. You know, when I grew up in a household, there was no men. You know what I mean? Basically, I was raised by my grandmother. My mother was, she was there, but most of the time, her and my grandmother, they were preoccupied with arguments over money.
Right.
Yeah, my uncle lived there. He was a heroin addict and a crack fiend.
Right.
Yeah, so, you know, on the outside, it looked like it was something, but on the inside, there was a lot of hell raising and drama. I went to elementary school, PS, Tally, graduated from Concord High School. And I say I wasn't really a bad kid, you know, but I think I did a lot of fighting probably.
Yeah.
You know, all of us ran into each other in them elementary schools, and yeah, so you know that's basically. I had a pretty normal upbringing during that time, you know, but probably had a lot of anger down inside. I think so. When I look back, I had a lot of anger. I think from being in a household that was preoccupied with arguing, I think that I didn't like arguing.
Right.
Yeah, so I wasn't the one to tend to argue with you too much.
I can think. So you mentioned that you was raised in a household where it was, you know what I mean, pretty much all women and your uncle there. So where was your pop at during all this time?
Oh, he just really didn't. I knew who my pop was. He just didn't really associate with me.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know, we later on during the course of, he just recently passed away, but later on in the course of incarceration, he reached out to me. And so, you know, I told him, listen, I'm open. You know, I'm understanding. I'm a grown man. I'm mature. It is what it is. I'm open if you ever want to have a relationship.
Right.
So he reached back and he came in, and so he would come see me maybe once a month, sometimes twice a month. I think maybe for like the last 6-7 years of my sentence, and it was I come to understand it was primarily for him. Yeah. Yeah. He needed to clear his conscience and his guilt, and he would apologize, you know. But my take on it was that listen, we're gonna start from this point forward. Like whatever happened in the past, it happened. Right. You know, and time and time again, sometimes I would let him come and express his, you know, like he might, a funny story one time, I rode my bike, he was living, I think, on 5th and Madison, so I rode my bike over there, he said he had some money. So he says, when I get there, I'm tired, I want some water, so you had to hit the little buzzer. So I hit the buzzer and say, Dad, I'm here. So he says, nah, why your mom let you ride this bike over here? Go on back over to the north side. Yeah. So I said, man, you kidding me? You ain't gonna give me no water? Right. So I was like, I'm trying to get in. I gotta use the bathroom. He says, nah, get up out of here. Go on back to the north side. But older, when we was down Smyrna, so he says, listen, remember that time I told you to go on your bike? He was like, nah, I was high. I was getting high in the house. I didn't want you to see me getting high. Okay. So, you know, some of them times as we was down Smyrna, I would let him get those things off his chest. But I just accepted him for who he was. I realized that sometimes people can't give away what they don't have. Yeah. Yeah, so he just, at the time, and I got older, and I realized that sometimes you got to realize that things happen. Mm-hmm. Like it's always, like you got to look deeper than the surface and see that, you know, it was more than just him abandoning me and then leaving me. You know what I mean?
What kept you open to having that relationship with him? You know, a lot of times people be real resentful, and especially depending on what's going on in the household, and then depending on how the dad carries it, like people sometimes end up resentful. What kept you open?
I think one, my faith in God, and two, I just like, listen, who am I? I'm a mess up. You know what I mean? I done walked into a 75-year sentence. Right. Yeah, I didn't abandon anything that comes along with the roles that I'm supposed to play, from father to brother to son to nephew, you know what I mean? So I was like, if I can walk into a 75-year sentence and leave all these people behind and change the dynamics of the relationships, then I can just stay open.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a good thing, man. It's a beautiful way to be. And like I shared, like with, you know what I mean, my situation was different. My father was there in the household. Obviously I wasn't there for my son. Mm-hmm. For those who first time listen to the podcast, you know, I was away from Amar, that's my son, my biological child, away from him for 14 years due to incarceration. And I think for me, I had that same moment with my father. He and I didn't, he was in the household, we didn't have the best relationship. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? There was some issues there. But what allowed me to be open to my dad was, you know what I mean, again, I'd grown and I lived long enough to make my own mistakes, and and just allow for me to have, you know what I mean, an open heart to him and allow him to come in and you know what I mean, just for us to build a relationship, you know what I mean, from there. And that's been a fortunate thing for me, man. So, yeah. So what about your children? How's your relationship with your children since being home?
It's throughout the incarceration, you know, we had a good relationship, and so it's pretty good. You know what I mean? I'm learning to reacclimating ourselves with each other because it's different from talking on the phone for 10 minutes. You know, tops in the incarceration, you might spend a couple hours a week together.
Right.
Yeah, because your phone calls might add up to, you know, especially if you don't really have a lot of money, you call them once or twice a week. So we talking about 2 15-minute calls or 30 minutes. You might get a visit. You know what I mean? So we talking about 45 minutes, hours. So tops, you spending 2 hours with them.
Right.
So I think that everybody's learning to adjust that I'm here, and it's real, it's a reality. So I think that for to have a sentence like mine, that everybody wanted me home, and they thought about it, but so many times they hype themselves up. They're like, listen, I put an appeal in, I'm gonna come home, this might happen, and then get denied. To like really have me here, like everybody's still making that adjustment that it's really everybody's pinching themselves, like it's really here.
Yeah. Because they all, you know, our families, they take that ride with us, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
They take that ride with us, and like, you know, appeals or parole or, you know, I mean, anybody looking for any type of modification of sentence or anything, commutation of sentence, anything that's going to get them some type of relief from, you know what I mean, from an incarcerated situation. You know what I mean, the families, they right there with us, and they, you know what I mean, they hoping and wishing and praying with us, and you know, it's a letdown. It's a letdown to all of them because people really get their hopes up high, and it'd be a letdown. So
yeah, absolutely.
I definitely feel that.
And so, you know, I've been with my son. What's his name? So we learning to build and bond. You know what I mean? It's an experience. You know what I mean? And sometimes it can I can't say really frustrating because he has to make that adjustment.
How old is he?
28.
Okay.
So, but overall, it's been good. We have discussions because he wants to get to know me.
Right.
Yeah, and I got to get to know him.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think one of the biggest adjustments as we see some of the things that we're doing, like we had recently had a conversation, and it was about just financing and being responsible.
Right.
And so he's a mama's boy, and he never had a man really talk to him about the situations. And he's used to running.
Yeah.
So when things get hard, since he's a mama's boy, he runs to his mama.
Right.
Yeah, so I'm like, listen, I'm here now. You know what I mean? So as we get to know each other, I'm starting over again. You know, I can help you.
Right.
But at the end of the day, you don't shirk responsibility. You accept it. You don't run from it. And he said he needs that talk. He said he needs that man in his life to be there with him. And so, you know, watching just the last 80 days, just seeing some of the things that how he carries himself and some of the things he does, it was kind of frustrating. But I realized that I can't jump in and just be like, listen, don't do this, don't do that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, because then that'll create waves. You know what I mean? And I think on all aspects of every, not only just with a son, just the relationship with my mother, my brother, and all other things. There's a lot of things, and to be honest, like they probably always had all these behaviors and all these issues like before I left, and that's probably why some of the things that I was doing, you know what I mean, was to avoid these the reality of the situation. I just closed my eyes to it and lived my own life.
Yeah.
And then to come home and see like, okay, these as you know, family members might be broken. Yeah. And that over the course of the time of that incarceration, like one of the different things that being down there faced with such lengthy time that you may not never come home and had a de facto life sentence, like you learn to deal with a lot of issues that you had, and you address those issues.
Right.
Yeah, and you grow. You know what I mean? Trauma makes you grow sometimes. You know what I mean? Without that traumatic event in your life, you may grow in increments, but you know what I mean? That made me grow and wake up and get mature real fast.
Yeah. Going back to like your childhood or your early teenage years, like when did you start to like veer off into the streets? Around what age?
I say my first, like I said, I probably was always a little ornery because I would fight, but not real. I was a real bad kid. I was a good student, but I think I can look at one of my oldest childhood friends, you know what I mean, Michael K.O. Bartley, right? We were, I think, in like maybe junior high or something. I think my first wrist name was, he sold weed, and so he used to put the weed in my locker.
That was your locker?
Yeah. He used to, so I think that was probably my first, you know what I mean, signs that I was going to go away with, because he figured that they wouldn't search my locker.
Yo, I got a funny story associated with this boyfriend. So, I mean, we in school. Me and KO was selling weed together. We in junior high school. It is what it is, nigga. I've never been offended. So, he, KO, I remember they came and got him out of class, right? It was the principal. I can't remember the principal's name. The principal and the vice principal. So they get him. So they on one side of him. So they usher KO short, right? So they usher him. And they just so happened to walk past my classroom. And I'm sitting in the classroom, and I look up, and I see him come walking by. He cut his eye at me. I see them on both either side of him, right? So they taking by. So immediately, I can I use the bathroom? So I go to the bathroom, and it was your locker. I went and grabbed the weed out of his locker. Now that I find out, and put it in the drop cylinder in the bathroom. That's how we dodged the bullet. But anyway.
Yeah, so I think that probably was my first, you know what I mean, signs of going wayward. And I don't know, just from there, I think that I found it, like, if I can look back and really, it was like thrilling. You understand that it was a rush.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To know that, like, to play the cat and mouse game. And then we had a hallway. I think it was a bathroom for the bad kids. So you smoke your little weed out of the can. You might have somebody drinking. Yeah. So, you know,
that was junior high school.
Yeah. So that was probably my first taste of, and the signs of going in the wrong direction.
So, go ahead.
No, I was thinking about back to your son, and not just son, because you got more than, how many children you have?
Two
children, right? So I'm thinking back to, you know what I mean, the conversations, and you mentioned the conversation you had with your son. What do you think, with you being home, what do you think the greatest value that you bring to your children's life? Because both of them are, well, you've been down 23, so they both have to be adults, right? So what's the greatest value you feel as though you bring to their lives now?
I think one of the greatest value I bring to their lives is, I think he's told me, and he says, is that just watching how I handle the everyday stressors. Yeah, I think he says that he values that the most, because I guess he doesn't know how to handle those situations, and he handles them, I guess, wrongly, or he runs from them, he walks away from them. And so I think that's the greatest value that I bring to them lives, is just showing them that as men, how we express ourselves. Because you know, as he and I sit down and talk, you know what I mean, as he says that he wants to get to know me, don't hold anything back. You know, we're open and honest.
Right.
You know, so I express my feelings to him, like, you know, listen, I tell him with something like, yeah, that, you know, I was hurt. You know, some just did this to me, but this is how I'm going to react to this situation. Right. You know what I mean? And so I think that's the greatest value, the greatest example I can show to him, is just that this is how, you know, I feel as though that a man conducts himself. Right. You know? Right.
So you said, you mentioned that your father passed away, you know what I mean, and this was like shortly before you came home, right? So how did that affect you, being in there with you? You know what I mean, you just get building this relationship back up with your pop. How did that?
It was a funny feeling, because it was like, it was a sense of peace, because I didn't, you know what I mean, we had made peace, and so, you know, I accepted him for who he was, you know what I mean, and on a level I got to know him as, you know, he's a pretty funny guy, you know, and so he still had my friend still had a lot of shit with him, because he was still, you know, one time I think on an honor visit, a regular visit, you know, down Smyrna, you know, when somebody bring you money, you know, that's important to you, you know, so he left the visit and he held up his 3 fingers. I'm like, okay, he brought me $30. Yeah, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go fill me out a commissary list for $30, and then when I got the money, the receipt was $3.
Shit.
So, you know, but at the end of the day, it's passing. I think I didn't feel any, I wasn't hurt, I wasn't upset, you know what I mean? I didn't have a lot of tears, I didn't really feel sad, but it was just a peace, because I felt as though that he and I had said what we needed to say to each other.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? We had crossed that bridge and we had moved on and we had a good relationship.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, you know, I really wasn't like real messed up about it. It's sad. I was just like, okay. You know what I mean? I'm sad that he's gone. You know what I mean? And I didn't get to see him on the other side because I think he really wanted to see me on the other side.
Yeah.
You know, but at the end of the day, I was glad that I got the meeting. I was glad that I got to talk with him, and glad that we had to get to make our peace and really like have a bond.
Nice.
So when you was all the way in the game, do you wish that he had possibly said something to you to kind of pull you out? Do you think he would have had enough influence over your life to get you out before you took it forward?
No, absolutely not. I think so. I catch a case in Dover one time, and so he calls me up, and he says, "Listen, you got in trouble. I want to help you get out of this trouble. You, my son." Boom. So he says, "I'm gonna go to court with you. When's your next court date?" So we're going. First of all, I think that I think you got to be to court at 9 o'clock. So he shows up at like 8:45.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, "Listen, man, you get ready to make me late for court. They revoke my bail." So we're riding down to Dover. He's cruising. So I'm like, "Listen, man, you need to speed up."
Right.
So he's like, "Nah, you'll get there when you get there." So I'm like, so he starts asking me like questions like, "Yeah, you out in these streets and what's names? Do you really know what you was doing and this and that?" And I don't think he really knew how to be a dad and know how to pull. I guess he was trying to be a dad and maybe pull me out in his own way. So he's like, "Yeah, listen, in my era, I would have took your pack." And so I'm like, "Listen, because I'm young, and so we don't really have a relationship." I'm like, "Listen, first of all, you're talking dumb, and second of all, I wish somebody would try to take my pack. You would be for a rude awakening if you think you was gonna take anything from me." And so I say that to say that at the time, I don't think he was strong enough, you know what I mean, mature enough, or knew how to pull me out. He probably might have been his own addictions and had his own issues, and so no matter what he said to me, probably wasn't going to pull me out of that game.
Yeah.
Do you think that did your pop had his dad in his life?
Yeah. He had my grandpa was excellent man. You know what I mean? He wasn't a man of many words, but he was always good to me because my grandpa was on that side. I used to just call him up as a little kid, and I'd be like, "Pop, I need a new pair of sneakers," or "Pop, I need this," and he would say, "Come on over, Nicky." He lived out Terminal Avenue, and he'd say, "You gonna stay out the house for a little while?" And I say, "Sure, Pop." He's like, "Your grandma want to see you," and then I'd tell my mom or my grandma, whoever, like, "Wait on the side, don't pull off," and I'll sit there for a few minutes. And then once he give me the money, I'll be like, "Thanks, Pop. I love you," and I'll roll out. But he really never said too much. So when he passed away, they had this article on him. They did an article in the obituary, and he was a shrewd businessman. He was like one of the first, he owned the first black hair distribution business in the state of Delaware.
Wow.
Yeah, and he bought land. They took most of it from Elkton, Maryland, and different things. So he was a shrewd businessman.
Yeah.
And they gave him a plaque. The governor and the mayor, somewhere he's got a plaque, and I read about that in the paper. So he never really. So my father had an excellent, at least from the outside.
Right.
You know what I mean? Looking in, he had an excellent father because his father took care of him. His father was there. He was a businessman. I don't know the everything that went on inside the household. Yeah. So I can't say that because we never really touched on that. My grandma died, my papa died. So, but on the outside, he had a mother and father that looked good. At least didn't abandon him.
Yeah.
So you showed signs of an entrepreneurial spirit. It might have been partaking in the wrong things, but you showed signs. Did your pop show signs of being an entrepreneur or anything like that?
He actually did. In these last few years, he had a food truck.
Okay.
Right, and he actually was he was a very impatient man, so he actually was making money off the food truck, but he didn't have the patience to sit in the food truck because he told me the food truck requires you to sit in there for hours upon hours. And he didn't have the patience. And he worked for Chrysler for 30-something years.
Yeah.
And I think right before he died, he told me he was going to buy a grill, like one of them commercial grills. And he was going to pull up on the side of the road and he was going to cook ribs and what's the name? So, yeah, he had it. How successful he was at it, I'm not 100% sure, but he would try it.
Try the same.
Right.
Yeah.
So your daughter, what's your relationship like with your daughter?
Oh no, that's it's excellent. So right now she's in the Navy, so she's out on tour. So she won't come back till August, and
Right.
so but we email each other every day because they can't really use the phone like that. You
Yeah.
understand? But it's excellent.
That's good.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
good. I'm glad to hear
yeah. So that's my baby girl.
that. I heard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you out? You've been out for what? You said 80 days.
Yeah.
80 days. You fresh.
Too much. Yeah, I'm fresh.
You fresh out. You still got the steak soap. Boy.
Yeah, I still got I still got the smell.
So what's next for you? What you looking to do out here? How you looking to make your mark?
Well, I definitely want to. One of the biggest things, if I can prevent anybody from going through what I had to go through, I definitely want to make an impact on the community and at least one person's life to say that, listen, that was a hell of a journey, hell of a traumatic journey, man. And I don't think on every level you'll know how much it affected you. It'll just come out probably periodically, like, oh my gosh, why did I do that? Or why did it happen? And if I can prevent anybody that, from going down that path, so I would like to go back, finish my degrees, probably, get into the law field, get into community activism, create some programs, running some programs, man, and just combating some of the things, man, and preventing people from going through what I went through.
Yeah, nice, man, nice.
Yo, how did you stay disciplined enough to teach yourself the law? Granted, I know you had a 75-year sentence kind of weighing over you, so I know it was some urgency there. But how did you stay disciplined enough to kind of like fight through it?
I think that sometimes, like I say, when faced with a traumatic event, people react differently.
Yeah.
And so once they gave me the 70, because I think I remember, I think Fridays is sentencing day.
Mm-hmm.
So I knew it was going to be a problem because I remember the judge, he was like, they normally take either a couple months or a couple weeks, and he was like, you know what, after the jury found me guilty, he was like, we can do this tomorrow. He was like, we can bring you back up here and sing tomorrow. And I said, that can't be. That can't be good. So I think when I came back that Friday, they had what we call the jailhouse lawyers. Yeah, on the pod. And so I was like, listen, because it was kind of a game to me up to that point, really. You got lawyers, so I believe that the lawyers would get me out of it. I've got a paid lawyer. Right. Understand? So it's a game. I don't need to go to the law library. That's not for me. People don't tell on you. You know what I mean? That I'll be home soon as they have this trial date. I'll be home. Right. And then it got real. And so I went to the jailhouse lawyer, and I don't know why he wouldn't help me. So I was like, I'll pay you for you to draft the motion. And he was like, nah. I didn't say it was weird, but he used to have this expression, you call you young lad. He was like, nah, young lad. He was like, you smart enough to do it yourself. Yeah. And so he's like, I'm going to show you how you do a motion. So basically a salutation where you put the titles and everything on there. He was like, and then you can figure out the rest. And I'm like, nah, I'll pay you. Just help me. But, I was so I can't believe these people gave me 75 years. Yeah, with like you said, it's 74 and
74 years, 364 days in the dark night.
And I'm like, what the? Yeah. So I'm in the room, and I remember he told me a case. It was called Strickland versus Washington on ineffective counsel, meaning that your lawyer didn't do your job. And so somebody else had a book on there. So I remember that Friday, I came back Friday night. I think Saturday morning I had a 4 or 5 page motion where I was like, the judge was crooked. The prosecutor, it was prosecution misconduct. It was, and I sent that motion off. And then I think from there it's just the fight, just the discipline. It was like, listen, I gotta stay disciplined. I gotta stay in this fight, or there'll be no light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. If I give up, if I get off of this, I'm never coming home again. Yeah. So I think that's what helped me stay focused and stay disciplined, because I was really like, yo, I'm never coming home again. Yeah.
That's impressive, man.
That is, man. That is impressive, man. I didn't realize at first. I knew you had, I knew you had a lot more time, but I didn't realize. It's like, damn. Yeah. When you think about that, man, it's like you literally, obviously you still would have been down there now, but 30 years from now, you would have still, you know what I mean? So we talking about 2050.
Yeah.
He'd have still been down
I
Smyrna.
still been
man.
down Smyrna.
And it's,
Yeah.
you know, I think about that, man. When we talk, I always think about all the people that, you know what I mean, go through that struggle, and, you know what I mean, you bring back different memories, you know what I mean, of like my own situation going in and like not really, you know what I mean, having to pay a lawyer and thinking this and that, you know what I mean. I think a lawyer did, you know what I mean, did what he was paid to do in that particular situation. But you know what I mean, you think you mean not knowing what's going on and really just being ignorant to it. It's like it's a hell of a scary feeling, man. It's a terrifying feeling, man. Going through that stuff and then not knowing what to do and having nowhere really to turn. And it's like you literally, like you said, you go in there in the courtroom and you get convicted or plea bargain, whatever the case may be, man, and you get to hit with that time. And you gotta go the fuck back over Gander Hill, man, and sit in that, you know what I mean, that county prison, and you just gotta lay with that thing, man. And it's a hell of a heavy thing, man. It's a hell of a heavy thing.
Yeah, and I think that, like I said, the anger and all the different feelings, I channeled it into the law. That's what helped me stay disciplined too, because I channeled it. Because I was like, listen, it came a point in time, I'm like, I'm not gonna be able to carry this.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna be able to be angry. Like, I'm gonna kill somebody. You know what I mean? If I keep this anger inside the institution, I'm a fight. Like, it's just gonna kill me.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
internalized. It's too heavy, and I think so. That was like an artist. That was like my form of expressing all self-expression, all the pain and the hurt. It just came out into the legal work, and that's how I stayed disciplined, man. That was my psychotherapist. Yeah.
So you know what? I got a question. So for you, what type of his son, y'all about the same age, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I know I've been home for like 12 years now. But you know, being a 28-year-old man, like what type of advice would you have for him? As far as what type of advice would you have for Nick as far as like dealing with his son and building a relationship?
I think you know, you cover a lot of ground in 28 years. And he covered a lot of ground without you there. So you got to have a lot of conversations to kind of fill out where he is in his journey and be able to try to, because it's going to be gaps there. He doesn't know you essentially, you know, he knows of you and all of that good stuff, but it's a lot of little gaps, and you want to have conversation after conversation after conversation to kind of uncover that stuff and kind of see, you know, where he's at with it. It sounds like you guys are going to have a great relationship, which is good. You know, a lot of times people don't really come to this point. Talk through it and keep talking through it. Like you and I, you've been home how long?
12 years, going on 12 years.
And we still covering ground. He came home when I was 15, turning 16. You know what I mean? And I transitioned into adulthood, and my view on life changed completely. And so we had to cover ground from understanding as a child, and now from being a man and covering ground and stuff like that. So, but doable. It just takes time and patience.
Yeah, it's just, you know, and you know, you just gotta unpack that stuff like Amar said, piece by piece, and it's, you know, you get to a point where you start to really, you know what I mean, get a little rhythm, and then something else will come up, because life like that, right? And you know, every different new experience that he has or that you have, you know what I mean, is gonna like impact that relationship, and you just gotta take your time and then walk through it, man. You know, and I know we had a conversation the other day, you and I, and I was just like, you know, you just gotta be patient with him. You gotta be patient with him, because you know, you coming home and it's like thinking he should move this way or move that way or whatever like that. And sometimes just like think about back down in Smyrna, the old heads, the best old heads that used to mentor and guide us were the ones, not the heavy-handed ones, but the ones that would just breathe on you and let you and know that you gotta live and go through your own process and grow. And it's even more so when you got, you know what I mean, father and son, you know what I mean, father and children, right? And you've been away from them a while, you know, because all that stuff that they went through, the missed birthdays and not going on certain trips or doing certain things and just not having their dad there, all that stuff impacts them. It's still there, you know what I mean? So that's some of that stuff that's gonna come out. But like Mara said, you know, you good, you can deal with it. Glad to see that you express it and talking about your feelings with them and all that, because that's important, man.
Because
I encourage you to do that.
We actually, the other day, after you and I had the conversation, so I told him, I was like, man, listen, me and my my boy. We had a conversation. I'm like, because you know, I was a little frustrated, and I was like, but you know, he told me keep on pushing through it, have the patience, and I was like, you're gonna have to have patience for me. I'm like, listen, I'm learning some new things. So he was like, yeah. So we went for a walk down the boardwalk before riverfront before I came to work, and so we was just talking, and he was like, yeah, you know. We was unwrapping some things, and I'm telling him, like, listen, like you said, there's a lot of gaps, you know. And he was like, listen, I appreciate every year you did in jail, the sacrifices, you know, because you know I couldn't do too much, but like as they was growing up, I tried to have a birthday present, Christmas present, you know. The funny thing, as they got older, I used to send them like $25 for their birthday or their Christmas or something. And then one time he turned like a teenager and was like, listen, I want this jacket. It costs $175. I'm like, what? You know how much commissary I'm going to have to miss for $175? But you know, I came
many
through.
emotions.
So, you know, he was like, I was really appreciative of that, although he wasn't here. There was a lot of things that you tried to show up in. And then he was... he asked me, he's like, listen, I used to get some books in the summertime. I'm like, yeah, I wrote this bookstore. And I was like, I just had him send y'all books in the summertime. He's like, yeah, I used to read those books. He was like, I just thought they came out of nowhere. Yeah, and I was like, yeah, I used to send that. And so, you know, we growing. I'm learning to be, like you said, I'm learning just to meet him and everybody else, because it's like you said, it's nobody really knows me. Yeah. Right? And so to some extent, they've heard of me, and they've seen me in prison, and we had conversations over the phone. And I think some of the things that I'm careful as I tread in these waters is that, you know, you only have 15 minutes to deal on the phone, to deal with the issue. Right. So when you give the issue, sometimes you don't really express your true feelings or go all the way into a subject, because you don't have a lot of time. And you try to end the conversation on the best note that you could end it on. And so now that I'm home, I'm seeing there are certain things, and I'm like, okay, you got to maintain your tolerance, you got to maintain your level of calmness, and you got to be quite patient, because they're used to me, you know, saying that, okay, I might not even say anything. They might tell me something, and I'll be like, all right, you know what I mean? Yeah. And now I'm like, no, yeah, you can't, nah. No, you can't do that. Yeah. Nah. And so I understand that that's something new for, you know what I mean, all my family members. Yeah. Like, no. Yeah, the answer is no. And, you know what I mean? And like, no is a real answer. Yeah. But in the prison sometimes, you know what I mean, no wasn't a real answer. I just didn't say anything. Yeah. One, because you don't want to lose relationships. Right. You know, it's so easy for people, family members, mom, dad, sister, brother, girlfriend, just to abandon you. Yeah. And so sometimes you may not express your whole entire true feelings, how you may feel about a subject. You may say, well, listen, and two, you don't want to carry it. Right. Yeah, as soon as I get off the phone, I got to go back to some nonsense. Yeah. And so I got to process it, you know what I mean, maybe express it in a letter, and then, you know, let it go, because I can't carry this. Yeah. You know what I mean, because I'm dealing with a lot of foolishness from the guards to the inmates, and if I'm not, you know what I mean, thinking, then anything can happen.
Yeah. And it's you know, it's just like you said, you know what I mean, it's really a manufactured, you know what I mean, relationship. Because like you said, you structure, you know what I mean, you get on a phone call, you structure your call. You know what time you got. You know what I mean, you know you got 14 minutes, and you structure your call to be as such. You know what I mean. And it's funny, the funny thing about it, I ain't gonna get all into it, but getting them calls from jail, you know what I mean, like when you accept them calls, you get calls, I get calls every day, and you know what it is, you know what I mean. So certain ones call. I talked to somebody this morning. It's like, hey, what's up? The greetings and everything, you know what I mean. Greet each other, boom. But we jumping right into this issue because I know why you calling me, and you know what I mean. So it's like, oh, so did you get my message? Boom, and you get into all that and talk about, you know what I mean. Talk about the kick mean stuff, and then you talk about a little bit lag stuff in the last couple minutes and whatever like that, and then last minute is like, yo, I love you. Yeah, keep your head up.
It's a patch up, and nobody wants to leave anybody home. You know what I mean? Bad ill feelings. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so it's in a relationship. So I think that, you know, I'm adjusting to that. Yeah. To be able to say, you know what I mean, because, you know, on some issues, it comes money-wise and finances, you know, it's to realize that especially in jail, sometimes you forget that that your people are going through struggles,
Yeah.
and they poor, and they got their own set of issues.
Right.
Because when they come, they put on a good face for you too.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They might send you $50 a week or something
Yeah.
like that, and you like, okay, they doing good.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, in all actuality, they sacrificed and they didn't pay the Comcast bill. Now you come home, there's a $780 Comcast bill.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they may ask you to contribute to that. And so those are the different things to be able to, and so, understanding that they may not be able to handle you say, you know what I mean, no.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to be able to let them express their feelings, you know what I mean, and to react in certain ways, I think when we talked even and my son, he didn't, I guess whatever it was, he didn't answer the phone for a day or two. Yeah, and I'm like, okay, all right, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, two can play that game, you know what I mean? I won't pick up either, but at the end of the day, to be able to let, your family members to react the way they react and still be open, you know what I mean? I used to have a conversation and say, listen, no is a real answer, you know what I mean? And I can't do things that I can't do. I'm not going to try to be Superman.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, like, you can get mad at me, right? But I'm going to call you tomorrow, tonight, you know what I mean? And then when you pick up or you call me, I'm going to answer, and we're going to go back to communicating and being like everything is normal.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to hold on to anything, and we learn to express it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest things that I try to keep the lines of communication open.
Yeah. But listen, man, it sounds like you having a good transition, man. I'm glad to see you home, man. I'm glad to see you back. I'm always glad to see people getting back and getting their lives back, getting back with their families, and putting things back together, man. So we just want to thank you, man. For
Hold on, don't close us out yet.
Don't close us
I
out
still
yet?
got more questions.
Okay.
Or last question for you. What parts of your personality do you see in your son, and then what parts of your personality do you see in your daughter?
Good question. I think one of the things, I'm an overthinker and overanalyze things. Yeah, he overanalyzes and overthinks things. She is very disciplined.
Okay.
You know what I mean? And so, those are the parts that I think that I gave them. That like he got that part where he overanalyzes. He's a thinker, but so one of the biggest things that we trying to is like master and sensei that we hear. So I'm trying to teach him, like, listen, because he asks those questions like, how do you get out of your head on this subject? How do you get out of your head? How do you handle this?
Right.
And so those are the qualities I think that the thinking ability and being open and learning to let his light shine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to be able to let things roll off his back, 'cause that's what he does. And then with her, she's very highly disciplined.
Yeah.
That's good, man. Can I close, man?
Yeah, you can go.
So, like, again, man, man, just glad to see you, man. Glad to be able to help, man, with this journey. Love you, man. Glad to see you out here, man, and just wish you all the best, man. And that's about it, man. Man, thank you for coming on the podcast.
No problem.
My name's Coley Harris.
It's Lamar Melton.
Thank you for listening, Mr. Dad.